And then that is the kind of support and synergy we need from the brand owners so that we can intercept any counterfeit goods may be passing through the port.
One of the top stories we are keeping an eye on for you this afternoon. And coming back to our conversation on intellectual property, and we're speaking to the Executive Director of the Kenya Copyright Board, that is Edward Sigei. Perhaps, Mr. Sigei, looking at Kenya as we stand, we have had the vision to transition from a commodity-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. Perhaps, are we there, or it's a pipe dream?
Actually, we are heading there. One of the reasons people from abroad come and invest in this country is because of the intellectual property legal regime that we have established. In this country, we have laws that protect plant breeders, and this allows for people to invest in the horticulture sector.
Yes.
There are laws that protect copyrights, and it allows people to invest in the copyright sector. There are also laws on trademarks and patents that allows people to invest here and feel safe in investing in this territory. Right. So we are headed there. There are policies that the government has put in place towards achievement. We are on course. And Kenya is one of the attractive IP regions, I think, in East Africa as well.
Speaking about Kenya being attractive, how much can we say the IP is worth at the moment in terms of the figures we have from Kenya Copyright Board?
The figures that I have are really figures from 2009. That is only about copyright. We have not done a study on the whole field of intellectual property. But I could say I could hazard, I guess, that if, for instance, trademark was not protected, and there is no enforcement by agencies like anti-counterfeit agency that you mentioned, very few people would invest in this region.
Yeah.
But coming back to copyright, copyright as per the year 2009 was reckoned to be contributing 5.3% to the GDP and employing directly over 250 people at that time. And these figures are really conservative, in my opinion, for reasons that a number of these businesses are not mainstream.
Yeah.
If they were mainstream and records were kept, like, for instance, even as we speak, we are really at the Securities Exchange.
Yeah.
Most of the companies that report their businesses do not have a column on intangible assets. And they have trademarks that are valued, that have a huge value on their books, but it's not reflected on the books. So it's quite difficult because a number of people have not really evaluated and known the value of the assets that they hold.
Interesting that you bring that up, because if you look far east to countries like China, they are among the world big, should I say, destinations for intellectual property. The same case applies to the United States.
Yes.
As Kenya, do we have a roadmap towards growing intellectual property?
Yes, there is a draft IP policy that we
It's still a draft.
It's still a draft, but it really has the main pillars in place. That is institutional. There are about 4 or 5 organizations that deal with intellectual property in Kenya.
So what can we learn from these countries like China that we can quickly accelerate and see the young people, see the creators, the innovators being able to make a decent earning from whatever they bring to the market?
There has to be a structure where an innovation can be identified early on and taken through the process of being secured and being made from the idea into an industrial production level. Because in many cases, the major contributors in those countries is the university. So you would expect a university to have a structure where there is somebody who identifies potential intellectual property, looks at securing it, looks at partnerships to make it into, to transition it from the idea model into a business.
All right.
Yeah, so there should be a system, and I think other countries also have, apart from the structures that support innovation, they do have structures that support financing.
Do you feel we've fully exhausted the potential that IP has for the Kenyan economy? You've just mentioned 5.6% of GDP. That's pretty low.
Yes, I think we have the potential. I think the responsibility is in our hands, and the government has looked at it as a way that youth can get employment, youth can get, this country can industrialize.
Right.
We cannot keep on relying on a commodity. We need to move to the knowledge economy. And this is we have the potential. I think we have a lot of talented people. We have a lot of people who can support this, the youth, especially the youth, having the youth in terms of the demographic profile of a country is a good thing as well. Most of our youth are able to sing, they can create software. A lot of them are creating apps. Many of them are doing films. Many of them are doing music. And what has been missing and what we are now dealing with is the transition from hobby to business.
All right.
Because when you talk of intellectual property and copyright, it's about business, and we are stressing that it is about business, making money.
All
You
right.
are being given an opportunity to have that monopoly for the period that that may be from 20 years to 50 years or whatever it is, but you must make maximum benefit out of it.
Okay. And finally, Mr. Sigei, of course, East Africa is tightly knitted in terms of trade, and also the borders have been quite porous over the last few years. And we've seen counterfeit goods making their way into different regions in the East African belt. Perhaps what can be done differently so that we can address the issue of the porous borders and also step up enforcement whenever we find counterfeited goods, especially on the perpetrators?
I think there's a draft policy, anti-counterfeit policy, that has been pushed by the East Africa community. I think that is one of the interventions, because I think we cannot talk about porous borders in the East Africa region. We are talking of one area of trade, one trading area.
All right.
So we should, if we have a common policy on counterfeiting, goods can be interdicted just like AC has done at the point of entry, because most of the time is the point of entry is either the airport or the port. And you have only 2 countries have those facilities. So we should be able to interdict these things if we do have a common policy.
Many thanks. Executive Director Edward Sigei, he comes from the Kenya Copyright Board, just trying to give us a sense of what's been happening, especially in the